The dense forests of Arendor were unlike anything Captain Adrian Cole had ever seen. Towering trees glowed faintly under the planet's twin moons, their trunks winding like spirals into the thick canopy above. Mist hung low over the ground, curling around alien ferns and flowers that pulsed gently with light. Birds, or something like birds, sang in strange harmonies, notes that seemed to echo inside Adrian's chest. He had been here for hours, scanning the terrain with his team, but the forest seemed endless and the signal that had brought them here remained elusive. "Captain, readings indicate a heat signature ahead," Lieutenant Mara said, pointing to the small screen on her wrist device. Adrian adjusted his visor, noting the soft golden glow that appeared between the trees. It was subtle, almost like sunlight leaking through the mist, yet it was distinctly different from the bioluminescent flora around them. Adrian motioned for the team to proceed quietly. Every instinct told him that this signal was not natural, not random. Humans had traveled to many worlds, but Arendor had a kind of silent intelligence woven into its forests. The trees seemed to watch them, their gentle sway almost like cautious breathing. As they moved closer, the outline of a figure became visible. At first, Adrian thought it was a statue, so perfectly still it seemed carved from crystal. But as he approached, the figure stirred slightly. It was a young woman, lying on the ground, her skin faintly luminescent in the dim light. Her hair flowed like liquid silver over the moss beneath her. Even from a distance, Adrian could see the intricate markings on her arms, glowing faintly like circuits on a delicate machine. "She's alive," Mara whispered, her voice a mixture of awe and concern. Adrian nodded and crouched beside her. The princess's chest moved in shallow, irregular breaths. His medical scanner confirmed what he already feared. Her vitals were dangerously low, far beyond what her species should survive without immediate intervention. "Stay back," Adrian said gently to his team, who were instinctively reaching for their equipment. "Let me handle this." He knelt beside her, feeling a strange pull in his chest. The human body had limitations, but somehow his instincts told him that conventional methods might fail here. He placed a hand lightly over hers, just touching. Nothing more. A warmth spread through his fingers, and for a moment the forest seemed to hold its breath. The faint glow from her markings pulsed, then began to spread along her limbs as if life itself were returning to her. Her shallow breath steadied slightly and her eyelids fluttered. Adrian felt an unexpected surge of energy, a connection that made the air around them feel alive. The sound of shocked gasps echoed from behind the trees. Several palace guards had arrived, moving silently and cautiously, their long, elegant robes brushing the forest floor. They stopped short when they saw Adrian's hand on the princess. Their expressions were a mix of fear, disbelief, and awe. "Human," one of them said, his voice melodic and strange, carrying a weight that seemed to command the very air around them. "What have you done?" Adrian withdrew his hand slowly, careful not to disturb whatever had just happened. I don't know," he admitted. "She was dying. I just touched her." The guard's eyes widened. "No human has ever come into contact with her without harm. How is she alive?" The princess stirred, her eyes opening. They were a deep shade of violet, almost impossibly large and filled with a gentle intelligence. She looked at Adrian, and a faint smile curved her lips, weak but undeniable. "You," she whispered. Her voice was soft, musical, but each word carried an unusual resonance, as if her tone itself was healing her. Adrian's team approached cautiously, medical kits at the ready, but the guards held up a hand. "Do not touch her. The human has awakened what only our highest healers could not." The forest seemed to hum around them. Adrian felt a thrill of excitement mixed with fear. Humans were rarely considered extraordinary outside their own world, yet here, on a planet filled with beings whose technology and biology far surpassed Earth's, his very presence had changed the course of life for this princess. The princess's breathing steadied further. She tried to sit up, but weakness pinned her to the ground. Adrian offered a hand, and after a moment's hesitation, she took it. As soon as their hands met, a soft golden light spread between them, illuminating the mist and trees. The palace guard stepped back, eyes wide, some bowing instinctively, as if recognizing something divine. You are human," one guard murmured almost to himself. "And yet, you carry the gift of life." Adrian shook his head. "I don't know what gift you mean. I'm just me." The princess's lips curved into a faint smile. "You are more than you know. The energy in your touch, It flows through me, restores me. None of our healers could do this. No medicine, no ritual. Only you. Adrian felt a lump in his throat. He had faced dangers across galaxies, storms that could tear ships apart, creatures whose intelligence rivaled entire civilizations, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The sense of wonder, of connection, was overwhelming. The lead guard, a tall figure with eyes that seemed to see through flesh and bone, stepped closer. You must come with us. The palace will want to understand, and to honor, what you have done. Adrian nodded, helping the princess to her feet. She was still fragile, but each step she took beside him radiated growing strength. The forest seemed to acknowledge it, the light in the leaves flickering like applause. As they approached the hidden palace gates, Adrian glanced at his team. They looked at him with the same mixture of awe and curiosity he felt for himself. Mara whispered, "Captain, we just witnessed something impossible." Adrian only nodded. Impossible isn't always what it seems. Sometimes, it just means it hasn't happened yet. The palace gates opened silently, revealing towering spires that glimmered under the moonlight. Every surface reflected the strange bioluminescent glow of the forest. Within, more figures awaited, royal family members, advisors and scholars, each one pausing, mouths slightly open as they saw Adrian and the princess enter together. The princess released his hand and stood independently, her eyes scanning the room. Her gaze rested on her parents, the king and queen, who were already moving toward her, their expressions torn between relief and disbelief. "Lyrana," the king said, his voice deep and resonant. "You are alive?" "I am," she replied, her voice stronger now. "Thanks to him." She gestured toward Adrian, who instinctively straightened, suddenly feeling the weight of attention upon him. The queen's eyes narrowed slightly, a mixture of suspicion and fascination. "A human? In our palace? How is this possible?" Adrian swallowed. I didn't plan anything, He hesitated, trying to find words that would not offend or confuse. "I reached out and somehow, she began to heal." The scholars exchanged hurried whispers. One of them, an elder with silver markings along his forehead, stepped forward. This is unprecedented. Our studies have never recorded such an interaction. Humans, they carry something unknown to us, something that resonates with life itself." Adrian shook his head. "I'm just a human. That's all I know." The princess smiled faintly, moving closer to him. "Perhaps human you are more than you know. Your touch has awakened a part of me that has been dormant. A power that only responds to life, empathy, and humanity." The room was silent. Even the palace guards seemed to hold their breath, as if aware of the gravity of the moment. Adrian felt a mixture of pride and disbelief. Humans had always been underestimated among the stars. Fragile, slow, primitive. Yet here, in a world far older and more advanced than Earth, he had sparked something extraordinary. The elder scholar stepped closer to the princess. "If this is true and the human can heal, then perhaps our understanding of life itself must change. Perhaps humans are the key to something greater than we imagined." Adrian's heart raced. The idea that he, a simple human explorer, could impact an entire civilization was overwhelming. Yet the princess looked at him with trust and gratitude, and in that moment, he realized that being human carried power, not in strength or technology, but in empathy and connection, in the ability to reach out and make a difference. As the palace doors closed behind them, Adrian sensed that this was only the beginning. He had touched life in a way no one else could, and the consequences, both wondrous and dangerous, were yet to unfold. But for now he had saved a life, and in doing so he had changed a world forever. The Palace of Arendor was unlike any building Adrian had ever seen. Its walls seemed alive, subtly shifting with light and texture, reflecting the moods of those within. Towers stretched toward the sky, their surfaces shimmering with patterns that changed like the surface of a calm sea under moonlight. The air carried a faint fragrance, a mixture of flowers and minerals, and every step Adrian took echoed softly, as if the palace itself was breathing around him. He walked beside Princess Lyrana, who now moved with more confidence than earlier. Her glowing markings seemed to dim slightly as her strength returned. Yet the warmth from the first touch remained, a gentle reminder of the connection they had shared. Adrian's team followed cautiously, carrying their exploration gear but careful to keep a respectful distance. The royal family awaited in the central hall, an immense chamber with ceilings so high that they vanished into darkness. King Thalor stood tall, his presence commanding yet tempered with concern. Queen Aravel, elegant and sharp-eyed, watched Adrian with a mixture of caution and curiosity. The princess's younger siblings hid behind pillars, their wide eyes reflecting awe and disbelief. "You have saved her life," the king said, his deep voice resonating through the hall. "No one expected this, and yet here you are." Adrian bowed slightly, unsure of what else to do. I only touched her. I don't know why it worked." "I didn't mean to," the queen's voice interrupted him, smooth yet firm. "That may be true, human, but what you have done cannot be ignored. Our healers, our technology, our entire history could not achieve this. And you—" She paused, studying him closely. "You carry something extraordinary." Adrian blinked, trying to make sense of their words. "Extraordinary? I'm just a human." "You may call yourself human, but there is more in you than you realize," the king said. "This connection, it is unique. Our scholars have never seen it and perhaps never imagined it." A scholar stepped forward, his robes adorned with glowing symbols. "It is true, your majesties. Humans have long been considered fragile, yet this human demonstrates an innate resonance with life itself. The energy he carries seems to respond to the living essence of your princess. It is unprecedented." Adrian looked at Lyrana, who now stood fully upright, her violet eyes calm and bright. She nodded at the scholar, a small but meaningful gesture. "He helped me. Not just my body, but my spirit," she said softly. "The connection we shared is more than healing. It awakened something within me, something I could not summon alone." The king's brow furrowed. This changes everything. "The disease that struck you, my daughter, has been a threat for centuries. No medicine, no ritual, nothing could stop it, and now, it seems a human touch can." Adrian felt a strange mix of pride and unease. He had faced many challenges in his career as an explorer, hostile planets, dangerous creatures, even rival factions of humans, but none of that compared to the weight of being seen as a miracle. "I don't know why this works. I think humans just respond to life in a certain way. Maybe that's all." The queen exchanged a glance with the king. "Perhaps it is more than that. Perhaps humans carry a force the universe has underestimated. Your species may not have the technology of Arendor, but you have something else. Adaptability, empathy, and resilience. These are gifts that cannot be measured in machines or medicines." As they spoke, Lyrana moved toward Adrian, her steps steady. "I need to understand this," she said. "I need to learn why your touch can restore life and if it can be trusted." She paused, then added with a small smile, "I want you to stay here. Not as a guest, but as someone who can help me fully recover." Adrian hesitated. I don't know if I belong here. I'm just an explorer, not a healer, not royalty." The princess's eyes softened. "That may be true, but you are the one who awakened me. Your presence is part of my recovery. Stay with me, human. Help me understand what this means." The king's voice interrupted, calmer now. "If you remain human, it will be under our protection. But know this, some in our court will not accept your presence. Not all will see your gift as a blessing." Adrian nodded slowly. He had faced danger before, but political intrigue on an alien world was new territory. Yet as he looked at Lyrana, at the trust and hope in her eyes, he knew he could not leave. "I'll stay," he said. "I'll help you however I can." The next days were filled with careful study and observation. Scholars examined Adrian, trying to understand the mechanism behind his touch. Machines scanned him, and experiments were conducted on samples of plant and animal life, yet none could replicate the effect he had on Lyrana. The more they tried, the more it became clear. This was not technology, not chemistry, not magic. This was something entirely human. During these sessions, Adrian learned more about Lyrana and her people. Arendorans were a noble race deeply connected to their planet. Their energy was tied to the forests, the oceans, and even the air. The princess, as a member of the royal family, had an amplified connection to this life force, yet even with her innate ability, the disease had weakened her to the brink of death. Adrian's touch had acted as a bridge, a catalyst allowing her own energy to reawaken. Lyrana spent hours with him, teaching him about her world, her culture, and her history. She showed him how her people communicated with the environment, how every movement and sound had meaning, and how their bioluminescent markings could convey emotion and intent. Adrian was fascinated, not just by the complexity but by the harmony of it all. Despite their advanced abilities, they had limitations, and humans, with their adaptability and unpredictability, could sometimes surpass those limits. In the quiet moments, when scholars and guards were absent, Adrian and Lyrana talked freely. She shared stories of her childhood, of lessons learned in the palace gardens, and of her dreams for her people. Adrian shared tales of Earth, of humanity's struggles and triumphs, of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. They discovered that despite the vast differences in biology and culture, there was a shared understanding of courage, empathy, and hope. Yet not all in the palace were pleased. Some nobles whispered behind closed doors, uneasy at the presence of a human in the royal court. They feared that this outsider, this untested species, could disrupt the delicate balance of power. Rumors began to spread that Adrian's influence over the princess was unnatural, that it could be dangerous, and that humans might one day demand more than simple gratitude. Adrian noticed the tension but tried not to let it worry him. He focused on the princess, on the subtle changes he could see. Her strength was returning, her energy more vibrant, and her connection to the planet's life force growing stronger each day. Yet he also knew that understanding this bond was more than a matter of biology. It was a matter of trust, patience, and respect. One evening, as the twin moons cast a silver glow over the palace gardens, Lyrana asked Adrian to demonstrate again what had healed her. He placed his hand lightly on hers, not expecting anything, but the effect was immediate. A gentle light spread between them, more brilliant than before. The plants around them seemed to lean toward the glow, leaves trembling as if alive. Lyrana's breathing became deeper, more rhythmic, and her body seemed to hum with renewed energy. Adrian felt a thrill of wonder. "I don't know how this happens," he said softly. "I just feel it, I guess. Something inside me responds when I touch life." Lyrana smiled, stronger now, her eyes reflecting confidence. "It is more than a feeling, human. It is a gift, and now I understand that together, we can achieve things that neither of us could alone." The palace bells rang, signaling the arrival of an important council. Lyrana turned to Adrian, her gaze firm. "They will want to speak with you. They will want answers, but you must be honest. We cannot hide this." Adrian nodded, steadying himself. He had survived battles, storms, and alien landscapes, but this, facing an entire royal court, explaining something beyond comprehension, was unlike anything he had done. Yet as he looked at the princess, standing tall and vibrant for the first time in weeks, he knew he could not fail. The council gathered in a grand chamber, where scholars, nobles, and advisors formed a semicircle around them. Murmurs filled the air, tension crackling like static electricity. When Adrian stepped forward, all eyes turned to him. He spoke clearly, honestly, recounting the events in the forest, describing the connection he had felt and admitting his own uncertainty. The room fell silent. Some faces were skeptical, some fearful, but others shone with amazement. The elder scholar, who had first spoken to him, stepped forward and nodded. "Your words are consistent with what we have observed. The human is indeed unique. The bond he shares with our princess cannot be ignored." The king leaned forward, his eyes thoughtful. "Then it is settled. You will remain here, human, under our watch and with our trust. You will help her recover fully, and in doing so, you may reveal truths about life that even our most learned minds have yet to understand." Adrian felt a sense of responsibility, heavier than any he had ever known. Yet beneath it there was also a spark of excitement. Humanity, so often overlooked, had proven its worth on this distant world, and for the first time he realized that being human meant more than survival. It meant hope, connection, and the power to change worlds. Days passed in the palace, and Adrian began to understand the rhythm of life on Arendor. Each morning the twin moons cast silver streaks across the crystal floors of the palace, reflecting in the eyes of the princess as she trained under the guidance of her advisors. She had regained much of her strength, yet Adrian could see there was still a distance to full recovery. Every moment they spent together revealed more about her resilience and her connection to the planet's life force. The palace staff, initially cautious, had grown accustomed to Adrian's presence. Some were still wary, whispering among themselves about the human's influence, but many had begun to respect his dedication. Even the royal guards, who had first regarded him with suspicion, now acknowledged his resourcefulness. He was not a fighter in the traditional sense, yet his quick thinking, combined with his ability to understand life in ways unfamiliar to them, earned their tentative trust. One morning, Adrian found Lyrana practicing in the palace gardens. She moved with grace, her every step coordinated with the faint hum of energy that seemed to radiate from the soil beneath her feet. Adrian watched quietly, noting the changes in her. The princess now radiated vitality. The faint glow of her markings pulsed gently, no longer a sign of weakness but of controlled energy. "Good morning," Adrian said softly, stepping into the garden. Lyrana paused and turned, her smile warm. "You're here early. I thought I'd observe," he replied. "See how much progress you've made." Lyrana laughed lightly, a sound like wind chimes in the forest. "Progress is evident, but I am still learning. There is more to my abilities than I ever imagined." She approached him, her hand brushing his lightly. The familiar glow spread between them, subtle now but comforting. Adrian felt the energy, steady and reassuring, a connection that neither needed words to define. As they trained, a messenger arrived, bowing low before the princess. "Your Highness," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "There are reports from the outer provinces. Rebels seek to challenge the palace. They believe the princess's weakness gives them a chance." Adrian's brow furrowed. He had anticipated dangers, but political unrest so soon was unexpected. "How serious is this?" he asked. The messenger hesitated. "They are small in number, but skilled. They have weapons and knowledge of the palace defenses. Some nobles may be aiding them." Lyrana's expression hardened. "Then we must prepare. Adrian, I want you at my side. Your presence has strengthened me, and together we can protect the palace." Adrian nodded. He had trained for danger, yes, but never had he faced a threat so intertwined with politics and trust. He would need not only courage, but strategy and patience. The next hours were spent in preparation. Lyrana summoned her elemental energies, drawing strength from the forests surrounding the palace. The air seemed to vibrate with her presence, leaves rustling in response to her growing power. Adrian watched closely, noting how her energy flowed differently when he was near. There was harmony, a synchronization between human and Erendoran that neither fully understood, yet both felt deeply. When the first scouts of the rebels approached, they were met not with force alone, but with clever strategy. Adrian guided the palace guards, showing them tactics that relied on observation, anticipation, and adaptability, rather than brute strength. He taught them to anticipate movements, to use their surroundings to their advantage, and to trust in their instincts. The Erendorans had never fought like this before. Their battles were calculated and ritualized, but Adrian's methods were unpredictable, yet effective. The rebels arrived at dawn, moving stealthily through the forest toward the palace gates. Adrian and Lyrana waited in the main hall, observing their approach through the palace's bioluminescent surveillance systems. Lyrana's hands glowed faintly, a sign of her readiness. Adrian felt a thrill of tension. He had seen many battles, but this was different. The stakes were personal, political, and profound. When the first attackers breached the outer perimeter, they found themselves confronted not only by the guards, but by strategies that seemed to anticipate their every move. Adrian's methods gave the palace defenders an edge. Traps were set, movements coordinated, and yet it was Lyrana who became the true force. As she stepped onto the battlefield, her energy flowed outward, touching the earth, the air, and the defenders. Plants and structures responded to her presence, subtly shifting to aid her and hinder the attackers. Adrian watched, fascinated. Each time he reached for her hand, a pulse of energy strengthened her, making her attacks more precise, more powerful. She moved like a living conduit of the planet itself, and Adrian felt an almost overwhelming sense of pride. Humanity, underestimated for so long, had given her the spark she needed to rise above her weakness. The battle was intense but brief. The rebels, though skilled, had not anticipated this level of coordination and raw power. Many surrendered, others fled, and those who had been aided by disloyal nobles were swiftly apprehended. The palace was safe for now, and the royal family breathed a collective sigh of relief. After the conflict, Adrian found himself alone with Lyrana in the quiet of the palace gardens. She sat on a bench, her energy still faintly glowing as she recovered. "You were incredible," she said softly, looking at him with admiration. "Your presence. It gave me strength I could not have summoned alone." Adrian shrugged, a little embarrassed. "I only did what I could. You did most of the work yourself. No, she insisted. It was our connection. Your humanity, your empathy. It amplified what I could do. Together we are stronger than any one of us alone. Adrian felt a warmth in his chest. Humans were often considered fragile, weak, and unremarkable in the eyes of advanced civilizations. Yet here, on this distant planet, he had witnessed the truth. Empathy, courage, and adaptability were more powerful than technology or tradition. In the following days, Lorana's recovery continued. She trained harder, moved faster, and her understanding of her own abilities deepened. Adrian remained at her side, guiding, observing, and learning. He taught her to trust her instincts, to combine her knowledge with human unpredictability, and to see challenges as opportunities rather than obstacles. Yet not everyone in the palace welcomed this bond. Whispers persisted among the nobles, some questioning the wisdom of allowing a human to influence the princess. There were suggestions that humans could be dangerous, that Adrian might be manipulating her for his own gain. Adrian, aware of these murmurs, chose not to respond. His focus remained on the princess and the palace's safety. Actions, he knew, spoke louder than words. One evening, while they walked through the palace corridors, a council meeting was called. Lorana stood confidently before the gathered nobles, with Adrian at her side. The elders spoke cautiously, questioning the nature of Adrian's influence. "Can a human truly be trusted?" one asked. "We have relied on centuries of tradition. This connection is untested," Lorana responded calmly, her voice carrying authority beyond her years. "I have seen the truth. This human has helped me heal, has strengthened me, and has shown wisdom that even our most learned minds cannot deny. Trust is not given lightly, but it is earned, and he has earned mine." The room was silent. Some nodded in agreement. Others remained skeptical. But the weight of her words could not be denied. Adrian felt a sense of relief, yet he knew this was only the beginning. Trust was fragile, especially in a world governed by tradition and power. As night fell, Adrian and Lorana returned to the palace gardens. The twin moons reflected in the water pools, casting shimmering light on their path. Lorana looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "There is more for us to do," she said softly. "The palace is safe for now, but threats will come again. And we must be ready." Adrian nodded. "Then we will be ready. Together." In that moment, standing among the glowing trees and whispering winds of Arendor, Adrian understood something profound. Humans, often underestimated, carried a spark that could inspire, heal, and transform. It was not technology, not sheer strength, but the courage to act, the empathy to connect, and the adaptability to face the unknown. On this distant world, those qualities had not only saved a life, but had begun to change a civilization's understanding of possibility. The palace, once a place of strict order and tradition, now felt alive with new potential. Lorana's recovery, combined with Adrian's human insight, had set a precedent that would ripple through the royal court. It was a beginning, a spark of something greater, a reminder that even in the most alien of worlds, humanity's presence could illuminate the path forward. And as Adrian looked at the stars through the palace's crystal windows, he realized that this journey was far from over. There were challenges ahead, tests of loyalty, courage, and trust. But together, human and princess, they had already proven that even the impossible could become reality. The days after the skirmish were tense but calm. The palace hummed with renewed energy, yet whispers of unease drifted through the halls like shadows. Some nobles still questioned the human's place beside Princess Lorana, while others watched with cautious hope, fascinated by the bond between them. Adrian felt the weight of attention everywhere he went, but he did not falter. He focused on the task at hand, helping Lorana regain not only her strength but her confidence to rule. Each morning, Lorana rose before dawn, her movements graceful and purposeful. Adrian followed her through the palace corridors, assisting with training, observation, and discussions with scholars. He noticed subtle changes in her energy. The glow of her markings pulsed in patterns he had never seen before. She was learning to channel her connection to the planet more effectively, and each day she seemed more attuned to the life force around her. One morning, while walking through the northern gardens, Adrian sensed a disturbance. The wind shifted unnaturally, carrying whispers of movement that the eyes could not see. He stopped, hand hovering near the communicator at his belt, and scanned the area. Something was approaching. Adrian? Lorana asked, sensing his tension. She touched his arm lightly, and the glow between them shimmered, almost as if affirming his instincts. Before Adrian could respond, a group of shadowy figures emerged from the foliage. They were armed, not with the traditional energy weapons of Arendor, but with unfamiliar tools that hummed with power. Their uniforms bore the insignia of a rebellious faction, determined to claim the princess's throne in her weakened state. Adrian instinctively moved in front of Lorana. "Stay behind me," he said. "We'll get through this together." Lorana shook her head, determination in her eyes. "I am ready," she said. She raised her hand slightly, and the air around them seemed to thrum with energy. The plants and trees responded, leaves twisting subtly as if sensing the coming confrontation. The first attackers lunged forward, but the palace guards were prepared. Adrian had spent days teaching them tactics that relied on observation, adaptability, and anticipation. They moved as one, guided by his instructions, and soon the attackers found themselves disoriented, their movements predictable despite their skill. But the rebels were cunning. Some tried to flank the palace, exploiting blind spots and corridors unknown to the guards. Adrian and Lorana responded quickly. Every time she moved, her energy flowed outward, strengthening allies and creating barriers of light and sound that disrupted the attackers' focus. Adrian followed her lead, anticipating their moves and directing the guards to intercept or block. The battle grew intense, but it was not just physical strength that mattered. Adrian noticed that the attackers seemed unnerved by Lorana's presence, her aura of energy making them hesitate. It was subtle at first, but soon hesitation became fear. The rebels, though determined, were unprepared for the combination of human strategy and the princess's awakened abilities. As the skirmish continued, a group of intruders managed to reach the palace's inner courtyard. Adrian and Lorana confronted them together. He moved with precision, guiding her actions while also improvising defensive maneuvers. Her energy flared brightly, creating a protective barrier around them, shimmering with golden light that repelled the intruders. The rebels fought fiercely, but each movement seemed anticipated. Adrian's guidance allowed Lorana to channel her abilities efficiently, strengthening her defense while minimizing unnecessary effort. The attackers, seeing their plans unraveling, began to retreat. Some surrendered, realizing that they could not overcome the combined force of human insight and royal power. Once the courtyard was secured, Adrian and Lorana surveyed the aftermath. Guards rounded up the captured rebels while the palace staff attended to minor injuries. The tension in the air slowly eased, replaced by relief. The princess turned to Adrian, her expression both grateful and resolute. "You were incredible," she said softly, brushing a strand of silver hair from her face. "Without your guidance, this could have been far worse." Adrian shook his head, modest yet honest. "You did most of the work yourself. I just helped you see possibilities you already had." Lorana smiled, but there was a seriousness in her gaze. "No, you were part of this. The bond we share made the difference. I've learned something important. Your humanity is more than a gift. It's a force." Over the next days, the palace slowly returned to normal. Yet Adrian noticed subtle signs of lingering tension. Some nobles, unwilling to accept his role, whispered among themselves. Others watched with curiosity, fascinated by the evolving relationship between human and princess. Adrian realized that while the immediate threat was neutralized, political intrigue could arise at any moment. Trust would be tested, and alliances could shift like sand. One evening, as the twin moons cast silver reflections across the palace pools, Lorana asked Adrian to join her in the observation tower. From this height, the entire city stretched before them, glowing softly under the night sky. She placed her hand on his, and the familiar warmth flowed between them. "I want to understand more about what you are," she said quietly. "Not just your touch, but the strength, the courage, the ability to act when others hesitate. Humans, you are extraordinary." Adrian smiled faintly. "I don't know if I'm extraordinary. We're just adaptable. We care, we take risks, and we try to do what's right. That's all." Lorana shook her head, eyes reflecting the starlight. "It is more than that. You've shown me something I couldn't have learned on my own. You've made me stronger, more aware of my own power. I want to make sure our people see this too, that they understand that strength comes in many forms." Adrian felt a mixture of pride and humility. Humans were often overlooked in the vast reaches of space, considered weak compared to advanced civilizations. Yet here on Arendor, his simple traits, empathy, quick thinking, adaptability, had not only saved a life but had influenced a royal heir's understanding of her own abilities. Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. A palace messenger approached, bowing low. "Your Highness, Captain Adrian," he said, "the council requests your presence. There are matters that require immediate attention." Adrian and Lorana exchanged a glance. They both understood the unspoken truth. Political challenges were far from over. The presence of a human in the court, miraculous as it was, had stirred unease among certain factions. Some saw him as a savior, others as a threat. Navigating these tensions would require both diplomacy and courage. In the council chamber, the room was filled with tension. Nobles and scholars alike studied Adrian carefully, weighing his every word. Questions were sharp, probing, testing his intentions and his understanding of Arendor's culture. Adrian responded with honesty, explaining the events in the forest, the bond he shared with the princess and his commitment to her recovery and the palace's safety. Some members nodded in agreement, acknowledging his sincerity and effectiveness. Others remained skeptical, their expressions guarded. Lorana, standing beside him, addressed the assembly with clarity and authority. She recounted the same events, emphasizing the importance of trust, collaboration, and the unexpected strengths that humans could bring. By the end of the council, a cautious consensus emerged. Adrian would remain in the palace, recognized as a trusted advisor and protector. The skeptics would watch him closely, but his actions had proven his intentions. That night, Adrian returned to the gardens with Lorana. The air was still, the faint glow of the bioluminescent plants casting gentle light across the paths. They walked silently side by side, reflecting on the day's events. "You've changed their perspective," Lorana said softly. "Some will still doubt, but they will remember your actions. They will see that humans are capable of more than they imagined." Adrian shrugged, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. "I hope so. I didn't come here to prove anything, I just wanted to help." Lorana stopped, placing her hand on his arm. "Helping is exactly what you've done, and in doing so, you've shown our people that strength comes in many forms. It isn't always the strongest who survive. It's those who act with courage, who care, and who adapt." Adrian felt a warmth in his chest, a quiet satisfaction that went beyond pride. Humans had long been underestimated across the stars, yet here, in a world so alien and advanced, they had left an indelible mark. He had not only saved a life, but had helped reshape a civilization's understanding of possibility. As the twin moons reflected in the palace pools, Adrian and Lorana stood together, looking out over the city. They knew challenges remained, that threats would return and political tensions would rise. But they also knew that together, they could face whatever came next. The bond they shared was more than survival. It was hope, courage, and the spark of something extraordinary. And in that moment, under the soft glow of the Arendoran night, Adrian understood a profound truth. Being human was more than biology. It was empathy, courage, resilience, and the ability to connect across worlds. On Arendor, that truth had not only saved a life but had begun to shape the future of a people. The palace was alive with activity as dawn broke over Arendor. The air was crisp, filled with the faint hum of energy from the forests beyond the walls. Adrian walked beside Princess Lorana, both of them quiet in thought. The events of the past weeks had tested them in ways neither had expected. The princess was stronger, wiser, and more confident, and Adrian had grown more aware of the impact humanity could have in worlds far from Earth. "Today is important," Lorana said softly, her violet eyes reflecting determination. "The council will meet to decide the future. Some nobles are still uncertain about your role, Adrian. Others may not accept the truth you represent." Adrian nodded, adjusting his jacket. "Then we make them see, not with words alone, but with action. Together we can show them the strength of this bond." They entered the Grand Council chamber where nobles, scholars, and advisors had gathered. The tension was palpable. Eyes turned toward Adrian, some filled with curiosity, others with suspicion. Lorana stood tall at the center, her energy flowing outward subtly, a reminder of her regained power. The council spoke first, their questions probing and sharp. How can a human influence the life force of a princess? one elder asked. What proof do we have that this is not a trick or manipulation? Adrian stepped forward. There is no trick. I am human, yes, but humans have always had a unique way of connecting with life. It is empathy, instinct, and understanding combined. I do not claim to be magical or all-powerful. I only acted with care, respect, and hope, and in doing so, we healed a life that was on the edge of death. A murmur spread across the room. Some skeptics frowned, unsure how to respond. Lyrana raised her hand, her voice calm and commanding. Observe if you doubt. Witness the results, not the assumptions. My strength is restored and my abilities are heightened. None of this would have been possible without him. He has not weakened our traditions. He has reinforced the power that lies within me, and within all of us by showing the potential for unity and trust. The chamber fell silent. The elder scholar who had first studied Adrian stepped forward and bowed slightly. It is true. Our observations confirm what the princess says. The human touch resonates with life in ways we have never understood. This is no trick. It is a gift, a bridge between worlds and between strengths. Perhaps humans are more extraordinary than we have ever realized. Whispers rippled through the chamber. Some nobles began to nod, reluctant but convinced. Others still hesitated, clinging to old beliefs. Lyrana turned her gaze to Adrian, and he could see the quiet trust she placed in him. Together, they had faced doubt, danger, and skepticism, and now it was time to demonstrate what that bond could truly accomplish. A sudden alarm echoed through the palace. Sensors had detected movement near the outer walls. It was a new threat. A group of conspirators attempting to take advantage of the council gathering. Adrian's heart raced. This was their moment, not just to defend themselves, but to prove the truth of their connection. Stay close, he whispered to Lyrana. We'll handle this. The conspirators advanced quickly, skilled and coordinated. But this time, Adrian and Lyrana were ready. The princess raised her hands, energy rippling outward, and Adrian instinctively touched her arm. A surge of golden light spread between them, amplifying her power and guiding her actions with precision. Together they became a seamless team, her abilities enhanced by his presence, his strategies magnified by her energy. The palace guards, following Adrian's directions, moved with efficiency and confidence. The attackers were caught off guard by the combined force, their efforts fragmented by the unpredictable tactics they faced. Each time a rebel tried to flank the courtyard, Adrian anticipated the movement, directing the guards and Lyrana to respond in harmony. Lyrana's powers had grown even stronger since her recovery. Plants and stone structures responded to her presence, shifting to create barriers and pathways. Light and energy flowed outward, repelling the intruders while minimizing harm. Adrian felt the thrill of their combined strength, human strategy intertwined with Arendoran power, creating a force neither could achieve alone. As the battle reached its peak, the conspirators faltered. Some surrendered, realizing their plans were futile. Others fled into the surrounding forest, their cohesion shattered. Adrian and Lyrana stood together in the center of the courtyard, breathing heavily but triumphant. The palace was safe and the council watched in awe. The elder scholar stepped forward once more, his voice filled with respect. We have witnessed something extraordinary today. Not only the strength of the princess, but the unique power of the human beside her. You have proven that trust, courage, and unity can overcome even the most cunning of threats. Lyrana turned to the council. Let this be a lesson. Strength is not measured solely by tradition, by technology, or by lineage. It is measured by the courage to act, the empathy to connect, and the ability to adapt. Humans have shown us that, and now we must embrace it, not fear it. The room erupted in applause, some hesitant, others enthusiastic, but all acknowledging the undeniable truth. Adrian felt a mixture of relief and pride. Humanity had been underestimated across the galaxy, yet here on Arendor, their presence had changed the course of events and inspired hope. Later, as night fell, Adrian and Lyrana walked through the quiet palace gardens. The twin moons cast a gentle light over the pools and foliage, reflecting the soft glow of bioluminescent plants. Lyrana stopped and looked at Adrian, her eyes filled with gratitude and warmth. You've done more than save me, she said softly. You've changed the way our people see the universe and our place in it. You've shown that humans, though simple in some ways, carry a spark that can illuminate even the darkest corners. Adrian shook his head. I'm just human. I acted with care and hope. The rest came from you. You are strong, capable, and courageous. I only helped you see it." Layrana smiled, her glow softening as she reached for his hand. "Together we have shown what is possible. The bond between human and Arendoran will be remembered for generations." In the following days, the palace settled into a new rhythm. Adrian was formally recognized as a trusted advisor and protector, his presence no longer questioned. The nobles who had doubted him adapted, learning to respect his insight and the unique perspective he brought. Layrana continued her training and studies, stronger than ever, her confidence radiating through the palace. Adrian observed her quietly, aware of the profound change that had occurred. The princess was no longer the fragile figure he had found in the forest. She was a symbol of resilience, strength, and the potential unlocked by trust and connection, and he, a human, had been a catalyst for that transformation. One evening, as they stood atop the observation tower, the city of Arendor glowing beneath them, Layrana spoke softly. "The universe is vast and full of wonders. Humans may be few here, but their potential is great. You've shown me that, Adrian. I will not forget it." Adrian felt a warmth in his chest. "And I will not forget this world. The people, the forests, you. It has changed me too. Humans may travel far and face many dangers, but this is something extraordinary." The princess placed her hand lightly on his arm, and for a moment the golden glow of their connection filled the tower. Adrian felt the power and hope flowing between them, a tangible reminder of what they had accomplished together. In that quiet, glowing night, they understood something profound. Strength was not only in power or technology, not only in tradition or bloodline. Strength was in empathy, in courage, in the willingness to act when others hesitated, and in the bonds formed between different beings. Humanity had proven its worth not through conquest, but through connection. The story of a human touching a dying alien princess and helping her rise stronger than ever would be told across Arendor for generations. It would become a tale of hope, unity, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. Adrian and Layrana had not only survived trials and conspiracies, they had inspired an entire civilization to see beyond fear and doubt, embracing courage, adaptability, and trust. And as they gazed at the stars above, Adrian knew that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown worlds and challenges, and humanity had already shown that its greatest power lay not in weapons or machines, but in the spark of life, hope, and connection that no alien force could extinguish. Together, human and princess, they had changed the course of a civilization, and perhaps, in time, the universe itself.